Madam Speaker, honorable members, I seek your indulgence, Madam Speaker, as I give a statement on critical areas of my portfolio responsibilities, which have very, very serious impact on the restoration of Jamaica from Melissa. And that is as it relates to energy, telecommunications, and transport. And I know that all the members here are most interested to hear about the restoration efforts by the Jamaica Public Service. So I rise today, Madam Speaker, and before I start, let me offer my own condolences to the three outstanding Jamaicans for which tributes were just given. I rise today 4 weeks since the passing of Hurricane Melissa without fear of contradiction to say that the spirit of Jamaica is alive and well. For anyone who believed our values and attitudes had faded, this moment has reminded us powerfully that the old-time Jamaican spirit is not only real, it's stronger than we ever imagined. Jamaicans from every parish, district, community have rallied in support of all shapes and forms, similar to our Jamaican diaspora across the world, to help our suffering brothers and sisters across the length and breadth of Jamaica. Over the past weeks, I have visited flattened communities in the western parishes where families destitute and displaced struggle to find shelter as the facilities available simply cannot hold them. Areas of real and immediate crisis. In the middle of this devastation, what has shone brightest is the overwhelming majority of Jamaicans who have stepped forward, giving what they can, doing what they can, and going where they are needed on their own volition. Let us not watch the 5% who try to use the disaster for their own means and ends. As I said before, God will take care of them. Let us celebrate the 95% who remind us every day that unity is strength, and at the heart of this nation beats with compassion. I've seen Jamaicans from humble beginnings struggling week to week, still finding money for gas, loading up their cars, pickup trucks, and driving across the island, sometimes to communities where they know no one, just to help a brother or sister in need. I say to them, you are saving Jamaica. This is not a sprint. This recovery is not weeks or months. It is years. And yet, because of the resilience of our people and the unprecedented support we are receiving, help continues to be on the way. Madam Speaker, no government here or anywhere in the world can single-handedly respond to a Category 5 disaster of this magnitude. It takes all hands on deck, and Jamaica has been blessed with extraordinary partners, the government of the United States of America, who moved with urgency to assist us with assets, such as helicopters, to be able to get into those areas that were inaccessible by road. Not only the support in dollars that came in funding, but in personnel, logistics, operational expertise, emergency equipment, and underground relief capacity. Not to mention the several other governments who also have been very, very early in terms of giving aid to Jamaica to keep us in the relief stage and helping us to stabilize critical areas with humanitarian assistance and reinforce Jamaica's ability to respond rapidly and effectively. We thank them all for that. Madam Speaker, while some figures remain fluid as restoration continues, what is clear is that Jamaican systems of coordination and response have evolved, allowing for faster mobilization, stronger partnerships, and more structured recovery planning. Today, I will provide an update on the progress across the critical sectors under my portfolio. Start with energy. Madam Speaker, I'm proud to report that despite the challenges brought by Hurricane Melissa, our national fuel chain supply has held firm, steady in reserves, efficient in delivery, and fully supporting the restoration across Jamaica. Petrojam continues to ensure Jamaica's energy needs are met following Hurricane Melissa. The Kingston Industrial Loading Rack resumed operation within 48 hours of the hurricane. And between Thursday, October the 30th and November 24th, have loaded over 2,540 tankers of fuel destined for all parts of Jamaica, including the hardest hit areas. The Kingston Loading Rack has extended its operating hours to facilitate additional fuel distribution. As of this morning, Petrojam's inventory remains steady at a comfortable 2 to 3 week supply, consistent with global industry standards. Fresh deliveries of finished petroleum products continue to arrive, ensuring uninterrupted supply to the local market and supporting recovery efforts nationwide, while the planned maintenance shutdown of the refinery gets underway. Repairs continue at the Montego Bay Industrial Loading Rack despite delays, with major works on the dock, which is estimated to be completed by Friday, November 28th. The refinery remains a shining example of how Jamaica will move forward, no matter the struggle. Gas stations, all major distributors, Rubis Energy, Cool Oasis, Total Energies, minus 2 sites, and Massey Distribution have resumed normal deliveries with aviation fueling and commercial supply operating island-wide. Sol Jamaica, Texaco, has temporarily closed their Georges Plain site. And I want to commend the Truckers Association for voluntarily reducing their freight rates or their transport rates to assist with the national logistics efforts during the emergency response phase. Mobile gas units. Madam Speaker, the ministry has noted a clear growing demand for portable fuel stations, a need intensified by Hurricane Melissa's disruption of regular fuel access in several Western communities. In response, government is reviewing the current regulatory framework, conducting gap analysis, and initiating the development of a comprehensive policy that supports flexibility and innovation in the fuel access. This process will maintain the highest standards of public safety while ensuring swift action to meet urgent community needs. To this end, we have entered into partnerships guaranteed to support the most vulnerable. Madam Speaker, I want to remind my colleagues here and the Jamaican public at large that we are no longer in normal times. We are in extreme times, and extreme times require extreme actions. The rollout of Johnson's Petroleum mobile mini fuel stations has advanced significantly following detailed site assessments conducted the week of November 17 to 21. Units for the fishing villages of White House in Westmoreland and Black River in St. Elizabeth are fully complete and ready for deployment, and licenses from Petrojam are already in hand. Beyond fishing communities, rollout to other priority areas will begin in the week of the 26th and 27th, 26th being Black River, and the 27th being Braze River. Also middle quarters on the 28th. Additional locations will be announced next week as remaining site assessments are finalized. Let me just pause to say that these are not permanent. We will move them once ordinary restoration is there for gas stations and move them to other areas that have challenges in terms of distance to get to the regular gas stations. I'm also happy to state, Madam Speaker, that despite major disruption to the Paradise solar facility, I have been told by InterEnergy Group that they have completed assessments and begun cleanup and issued the RFQs for replacement equipment and reaffirmed its commitment to full reconstruction in support of Jamaica's renewable energy future. I'm also pleased to report that the JUTC CNG facility sustained no damaging. Commissioning tests will begin on November 28th, with full operation expected in the first week of December. Also want to indicate that the Dr. Bird plant, through the Jamaica Private Power Company and West Kingston Power Partners, remained fully operational throughout the storm, providing crucial stability to the grid. Madam Speaker, move on to transport. Efficient and uninterrupted transport is vital in the immediate aftermath of a disaster. It ensures that life-saving aid equipment and technical support can reach affected communities without delay. In regards to this, Madam Speaker, I now turn to the matter of the toll access during the national recovery. The Toll Authority lifted barriers for toll exemptions traveling from the 26th of October, returning to normal operations on November 17, with continued exemptions for vehicles transporting relief supplies. By November 24th, the authority had received 2,227 applications, with 700 approved, alongside the launch of a new online application portal. However, toll operators have since restricted exemption to Class 3 vehicles, which are trucks. That is the biggest class, carrying verified humanitarian aid. Class 1 and 2 vehicles can only pass under cost-sharing arrangements, limiting the movement of essential responders and partners. Madam Speaker, the authority advises me that the greater flexibility is legally available under the Toll Roads Act, Section 2, which empowers the minister to define emergency services, and Section 8 enables the minister to designate toll-exempt emergency users by toll authority. Accordingly, I have received a request from the toll authority to issue such an order to cover ODPEM, NARA, ministers and their close protection officers, members of parliament, especially those in the affected areas, and councillors and their protection officers, relevant government agencies and international and local relief partners.
House Leader, the member's time for speaking has expired.
Madam Speaker, with the member's time for speaking having expired, we ask that it be extended by 30 minutes to give the member sufficient time to complete the statement.
House, the question is that the member's time be extended by 30 minutes to allow for completion of this critical statement. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, that's why I purposely left JPS to last, because I'm sure that everybody will remain attentive to hear the good news. So, Madam Speaker, the authority stands ready to support the issuance and implementation of this toll order to facilitate a smoother, more efficient national recovery effort. And I'm saying, Madam Speaker, that it is with a heavy pen that I will have to do so if I have to do it, because I think that the concessionaires, especially in light of the challenges that we are facing and still face, especially in the West, could have been more flexible in relation to working out a regime that would be easier for relief in terms of the cost and also the access to get down into these areas. Madam Speaker, JUTC is back up and running, averaging 430 regular weekday runs and 60 premium services. The rural school bus is back up in areas where schools are open and roads are open. Montego Bay Metro, the same. Madam Speaker, airports, and I want everybody to listen to me carefully. Both Sangster International Airport and Norman Manley International Airport have remained fully operational since reopening on October 29, continuing to support passenger, cargo, and humanitarian flights. Between the 29th of October and November 23rd, the airports collectively handled approximately 2,238 flights, including 1,044 commercial flights and 621 relief flights, along with 573 private or general aviation movements, underscoring their critical role in the recovery process. The volume of air traffic reflects a significant inflow of international aid, technical assistance, and essential supplies being coordinated through both terminals. Air operations remain stable with humanitarian and cargo support ongoing, ensuring that food and medical supplies and fuel and equipment reach affected communities efficiently without interruption. Madam Speaker, I want to pause here to indicate that Norman Manley International Airport was open within 24 hours of the passing of Melissa. I want to indicate that despite the damage that Sangster Airport had in Montego Bay, I arrived there on the 29th of October, and we opened it within 72 hours. Nothing else was more important than that, because if you couldn't land relief items, we wouldn't be able to respond at all. And I want to stop, despite all the noise, to give full kudos to all of the persons and the apparatus at the airport, customs, immigration, the cargo handlers, everybody who worked tirelessly to facilitate those flights, which are more than normal days, twice in some cases, with shortage of equipment and all that goes with it. And yet still, we were able to deliver and continue to deliver on a daily basis without any credible complaints or reports. Let me put it no stronger than that. So I praise them, because this could not happen without their commitment and hard work. And I say to them, job well done. Madam Speaker, the seaports have now become critical, because the bottom line is that the wharves had to be tested prior to any ship being able to land. So we were dependent only on air. Now, over the last 2 weeks, we have started to receive sea freight, which is coming in steady, which carries a lot more relief items and recovery items to sustain the drive to help as many people as we can. So I say that to say that they have gone further, and basically to support the national recovery and diaspora contributions, all aid carrier benefits from a 20% discount, underscoring the shipping line's commitment to timely, efficient, and humanitarian-focused operations. Madam Speaker, there are more than 1,000 empty containers currently sitting idle in the Kingston Harbor. These containers represent more unused steel. They represent over 1,000 potential rapid deployment, temporary homes with manageable retrofitting for light ventilation and sanitation. We are working with our partners, the shipping agencies who own these, to see what can happen, whether or not we can get access to some of them, even if it is as a temporary solution for those who don't even have a tarpaulin over their head 3 weeks later. I am looking forward to getting that response, but that is a good idea, because they are sitting there facing the elements of the salt air every day, and they have been there for many months, and will probably will remain there for many more months. I look forward to a favorable response. I have written formally to each of them, and all of them have said that they will come back to me in short order. Madam Speaker, Jamaica's telecommunications sector has shown remarkable strength and responsiveness. Our providers have acted with urgency and purpose to reconnect the nation, bringing back mobile data and fixed services in record time, even in the hardest hit communities. On top of that, we have benefited from the international and regional technical support through the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SEDEMA, in concert with the World Food Program and the International Telecommunications Union emergency telecommunications specialists, who were mobilized to assist with rapid network assessment and restoration of critical communication links. Additional leading telecom operators have paired their restoration work with humanitarian outreach, distributing solar lanterns, and of course, mobile charging stations and emergency SIM and data packages. Madam Speaker, Starlink, and I want to pause here to give Starlink the biggest big up, because they have been a savior in this crisis in terms of being able to communicate. As of the 19th of November, 561 generators have been delivered to critical areas, including Trelawney, Hanover, St. Elizabeth. Starlink devices continue to reach the most affected communities, with 659 of 867 that has been received, already allocated, and 74% activated. Consistently online, Starlink themselves, who sent a team here, Madam Speaker, to Jamaica immediately after, have donated over 900 kits, provided free service to roughly 21,000 users, and enabled nearly 490,000 text messages since the hurricane made landfall. The demand for the terminals have surged tenfold, and coordinated efforts between the government of Jamaica, Starlink, and logistic partners are ensuring rapid delivery to communities, keeping residents connected and supporting both humanitarian and recovery operations across the island. Madam Speaker, I just got before coming here, since Melissa, there has been 11,000 Starlinks imported into Jamaica. So much so that it created a backlog. As you know, DHL is who handles everything and delivers to the customer. I had to work with customs to put in a special regime where DHL posts their bond so that Minister Williams is assured of our money. And we release them. If not, they would be there for weeks, because as quickly as they come out is as quickly as they come back in. And I'm happy to say that it is working, because the complaints to me have gone down to almost zero. And again, I congratulate Customs and the DHL for working together in extreme times to make extreme measures without breaching any of the procedures and the systems that are in place. Madam Speaker, it doesn't stop there, because Starlink has supported both Digicel and Flow in order to bring up back some of their networks in areas that would not come up for weeks and months based on the level of damage. Once again, the partnership is there and has worked, and I want to say publicly, thank you to Starlink for sending a team down here, for staying here, for coordinating with us, and helping us as best as possible to make sure. The only thing I wait on now is to hear an invitation to Mr. Elon Musk when he will be coming to visit us, to give us even more assistance. Madam Speaker, I touch quickly on Digicel. As of November 24th, they have brought back approximately 76% of its mobile network online, with 90% of Digicel Plus customers with service. Key progress has been made in restoring connectivity, with the newest communities now back online across Hanover, Manchester, St. James, and Westmoreland. Notable areas including Lucy, Cocoa Walk, Cambridge, the Half Moon area, Bethel Town, reflecting steady nationwide recovery and the continued commitment to ensuring reliable service for affected areas. Flow Jamaica reports similar upward trajectory, with approximately 60% of fixed sites and 71% of mobile sites now operational as of Monday, November 24th. Restoration is quickly advancing in parts of Trelawney and Westmoreland. 3 critical transport links have been restored along the Port Antonio to Nutter Bay, Mandeville to Santa Cruz, and Port Antonio to Morant Bay routes. Technical teams continue restoration efforts, bringing mobile sites back online in several communities in Westmoreland, St. Mary, Portland, Clarendon, and Manchester, reflecting steady progress for connectivity. Madam Speaker, one of the biggest hindrances for them is power. The sooner that they get back power, which I'll soon touch on, is the quicker that the telcos will be back up in almost all areas across Jamaica. Madam Speaker, two more things before I touch to the real one that everybody is waiting to hear about. ATMs are very critical because if you don't have money in a time like this, you don't have any talk. A credit card don't work, promissory note don't work, and man want them cash for them goods, and you can't do nothing without cash. So we have made a special push through the Jamaica Bankers Association. 78% of ATMs, 704 of 907 are now back in service, along with 78% of point-of-sale terminals, representing 18,501 devices restored. Recovery remains uneven across parishes. ATM stands at 59.6% in St. James, 38.1% in Trelawney, 48.6% in Westmoreland, but banks continue to restore service wherever physical access, power, and telecommunications can safely be secured. We are still working between Starlink generators, GPS, to get as much more up as possible, especially in the 5 most affected parishes, because without that and without light, they will see no Christmas, that they will have nothing to be able to see with their eyes and buy with their money. Universal Service Fund, critical, especially for those areas. Again, Melissa caused disruption to USF public Wi-Fi network of 408 community hotspots. Only 72 remained online, and the Western parishes suffered a total loss of all 156 sites, cutting off thousands from education, communication, and emergency support. In response, the USF has rapidly shifted to Starlink satellite systems powered by solar energy, allowing fast off-grid restoration where traditional infrastructure collapsed. In just 14 days, engineers have restored in 17 hard-hit communities across Westmoreland, Hanover, St. Elizabeth, and St. James, Manchester, Trelawney, and St. Anne. We aim to deploy at least 90 Starlink sites by mid-December, supported by private sector technicians now helping. This will allow the fund to begin restoration in central and eastern parishes. The recovery effort is estimated at $863 million, covering satellite equipment, solar power systems, and installation services, an investment that strengthens Jamaica's digital resilience moving forward. So, Madam Speaker, again, those community Wi-Fis are even more important than ever in this disaster, because those places are in remote areas that MPs chose, off the beaten track. And if they can have that Wi-Fi so those kids can do some homework, speak to your family, go on the social media and do the usual thing, like what my colleague over here does every day. Ian. Every day. 863 million is what it's going to cost to redo all of the damage for the... My own has 863, so that one was done for you. Madam Speaker, members, let me move now to what I think is the most critical aspect of the presentation and the most critical aspect of any chance of quick restoration for the country to come back to some level of normalcy and for the relief and rebuild efforts to really get underway. And that is the issue of electricity. I deliberately left this for the last. As we know, the JPS service license expires, and the license request requires that the government indicates its intention by July 2025 to call the government's position was upon expiration of the current Owl Island license not to renew under existing terms. It's important to point out and remind Jamaica that failure for the government to have responded would have given the JPS an automatic tenure extension to the existing license of 10 years. So understand what that means in English. If the government did not respond with a position by July 2025, automatically a 10-year extension. So you'd be talking about a license that was given in 2001, renewed in 2016, which expire in 2027, to go from 2027 to 2037 under the same existing conditions. I am not going back. Today is Melissa Day. September 3rd gone. So we're not going to talk about how we got there. We're going to talk about how we're going to fix it. So understand now that Melissa hit. And when Melissa hit, there's a need for restoration. The restoration requires money. The Emergency Disaster Fund, which is what you would call the self-insurance for the distribution and transmission line of the JPS, which is not insured because it's uninsurable, is what we have used for Beryl and for Melissa and for all the other events that we have had in recent years. So, as of right now, that fund, based on the claims that have been made already, to prepare for Melissa, has been exhausted. So it means that the JPS has 2 years on a license, and they have to raise money to restore. Several iterations, several proposals. One, JPS wants a 15-year extension. And they get 15-year extension, they will do what they need to do to find the money. Other one is that multilaterals are prepared to give them money, but they want at least 8 to 10 years extension. Where does that put us? That put us in two situations. One, a commitment that was made by this minister and this government in June of this year that any new license would be on new terms. A commitment that was made, a commitment that will stand, and no Melissa, no Trelissa, no Belinda is going to change that. So the government is now in a position now, what do we do? Because we need restoration. JPS is saying that the earliest restoration time that they can give us for the worst affected areas is April to May 2026. Can you imagine when you tell a minister that? And on top of which, they want an extended license. That is going to mean that we are in the same situation. Well, Madam Speaker, my colleagues here, many hours, many discussions. Cabinet, not once. Cabinet, not twice. Cabinet 3 times, including yesterday morning. And the decision, thanks to the help and the input of the Ministry of Finance, specifically Minister Williams, and the Financial Secretary, and of course, the new Minister of Efficiency, we were able to work out yesterday and get approved by Cabinet an agreement to fast-track the restoration to end of January, latest early February. Don't clap yet. Don't clap yet. On the basis that the government of Jamaica is not prepared to negotiate any extension of any license other than the process that is going to take us from now until 2027 when this existing license expires. But based on the fact that we need restoration as a country in the shortest possible time, the government of Jamaica has agreed to loan the JPS $150 million United States dollars on the basis that they will use that money, which is estimated at $75 million a month, to restore the entire grid, save and except for any special area that may not be reachable, but the major areas by the end of January, latest early February. What are the terms to make sure that the government and the taxpayers are fully protected? 5 years with an interest rate to be negotiated by the Ministry of Finance, which I'm sure will be a reasonable interest rate, because the higher the interest rate is the more it's going to pass on to the consumer. And we are cognizant of that. However, they can pay as early as 2 years. Why? Because 2 years the license expires. They'll either have a renewed license or they won't have a license. If they have a license, they can attract financing. And if they don't have a license, the government has already indicated to them, based on our July 2025 letter, that we are prepared to acquire the assets of the Jamaica Public Service, which means that our money is protected fully. So there is no risk to the Jamaican government or the taxpayers. What we have done is skillfully separated a negotiation of a loan and untied from all of these proposals of extensions. I want to point out to you very carefully, any negotiation that involved the license or amendment of license would retard the period of time when we need to get the money. We need to get the money to them or give them a commitment by tomorrow morning after we announce this today, because the cabinet decision is out. And they have committed that they will have 300 linesmen. They now have 170, all in white truck. And big thick man, you see. That's 170. But those 170 are trying to get back the biggest areas of production for the government, Montego Bay. So all the other areas in my friends and colleagues' hard-hit parishes are not getting the attention that they would get. And it's not because of anything other than what has to happen in order to get the country up and running. Can you imagine, members, in 2 weeks' time, 300 more linesmen with equipment, same trucks you see and same everything you see, having 500 linesmen additional to what JPS has as their normal crew spread across Jamaica. The commitment that I'm making to you here, that JPS has committed to me, that they can have those trucks and men here by the second week of December, and that by Christmas morning, Grand Market night, they are committing, especially in the hardest hit areas, to bring back light at the most strategic locations where those that are still affected can come down into and do all that they need to do, even if it is that they don't have light 5 miles up in the hill. Madam Speaker, I am here to say that it is the best win-win situation that a government could negotiate. Because if we are to wait until April or May, which could be in June, depending on what happens, then I don't know what would happen. I can't say what would happen because it wouldn't be pretty. But most importantly, Madam Speaker, is that originally the estimates for the damage, early assessments, as JPS had said, was between $480 and $600 million. As the assessments have continued in more detail, we are down to $350 million, which is a huge difference between the original estimate and what the estimate is. So the question that's going to come is, what happens with the balance of money that's going to be needed? We were not prepared to go into that discussion. They have to come back to us because they have put a hold on dividends from July indefinitely until this matter of normalcy is resolved. So we are not going into it and giving money. Just we are making sure that we have our protection mechanisms to make sure we will have oversight in terms of technical people to evaluate those numbers, to put a program in place of the restoration, monitor it, to make sure that what has been given to us as a plan is carried out. So I say to you, Madam Speaker, as of today, November 25th, approximately 75%, 687,339 households and businesses have been reconnected to the JPS grid in less than 4 weeks. Less than 4 weeks. As I said before, they had indicated to me full restoration will not be possible until end of May 2026. And this was mainly due to the inability to raise funds with the 2 years left. Madam Speaker, I want to say to you, before I close, that you know my stance with the JPS when Beryl came. And you know that it didn't end, or it ended well, but it didn't start well. I have seen a complete change, despite the fact there are still gaps. There's no two ways about it. There's areas that are not affected, that still can't get back light, not realizing that the transmission line is coming all the way from the west to the east. They have given me a commitment, Madam Speaker, because you know that I'm someone. So, path 1, which was a JPS's path, was 505 line workers, timeline April, May 2026. I need 5 minutes. No.
Minister, you may conclude.
Conclude. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I really appreciate it. Part 2 is 470 line workers with an estimation of January to February 2026. Madam Speaker, for St. Mary, the commitment is to bring back all areas long before Christmas. They say Christmas. They say if they get the equipment here, they will move. They said, Madam Speaker, for Portland, same. For Clarendon, 95%. Remaining 5 will be due to access. This is before Christmas, you know. This is not January, February. Madam Speaker, that's Manchester. St. Anne has some major problems, Madam Speaker. They are saying 80% before Christmas. They have some major issues with the substation at Cardiff Hall. I want to get the Western region, Madam Speaker, and I'll close on this one for you. I'm sure member from Westmoreland here, formerly from Hanover, will be interested in this. Westmoreland, St. James, St. Elizabeth, Trelawney, and Hanover. Currently, as you know, there are several areas that have received light. St. James, Freeport, Hip Strip, Montego Bay Town, Fairway, Witter Village, Shops of Rosal, Spring Garden, Fairfield, Shore, and Coral Gardens. I understand that they're going to be going up into the hills where the tourism workers operate because of tourism coming back on track on December 15th. The other areas, Madam Speaker, is St. Elizabeth, Black River Hospital and Treasure Beach, Hanover Sandy Bay Health Center, Sandy Bay Town, Westmoreland, West End Negril, Savlamar Hospital and Savlamar Town. And last but not least, Madam Speaker, as I said before, 175,000 customers remain to be restored. And we are going to bring that number forward to January, February latest, but we're going to do a push to see what we can do. So for those MPs that are in those areas, if you could furnish me with your areas that you believe would be the most critical areas for Christmas, at least at ease for Christmas. No, can't be all. I'm sure you'll be understanding of the situation. It won't be all. All won't be till the end of January. Then I think we can work together to make sure with JPS that we use information coming from you and see how we can coordinate. Madam Speaker, I will not detain the House anymore. I thank you for your leniency and to say to you and to say to the people of Jamaica that we have made sure that we have not allowed adversity such as Melissa to take us off track with the negotiation of a new license in 2027 with whoever that is. And we have been able to find a way to bring forward restoration without putting the government or the taxpayers of this country at any exposure in relation to any possibility of not being repaid in some way, shape, or form, including JPS shares, if it comes to that. Which, as I said before, 2 years we have a decision. Either there'll be a successful negotiation with the current operator, or the government will have to act and find somebody to come in. And whichever way it goes, the $150 million will be protected, whichever way it goes. I thank you for your time, and I say to you, I know the suffering is hard, but this is a huge, 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 huge move in terms of bringing forward so we can get back to normalcy as quickly as possible. God bless you. God bless Jamaica.
The member from Kingston East and Port Royal responding.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Our spokesperson on transport is not with us today. So I claim my time as Energy Minister and his time as transport shadow spokesperson. I want to, firstly, Madam Speaker, pay credit to the workers of this country. The workers of Petrojam, the workers of JPSCO, the workers of Flow, Digicel, all of them. The truckers, all the people in public transportation, for the tremendous work that they have done to alleviate the tremendous difficulty that this country has been burdened with through the passage of Hurricane Melissa. The major portion of my response is in relation to energy, but the minister did make some other remarks in relation to restoration of the rural school bus service. And Minister, you have mentioned that it was only Westmoreland and Southern St. James that were not restored, but I gather that Hanover, the member from Western Hanover, has already mentioned that she's calling upon the government to see to the restoration of our rural bus service. You have also mentioned in relation to telecommunications, the problem with those free Wi-Fi locations under the Universal Service Fund. I just want to say, Minister, long before Hurricane Melissa, we have seen in so many of these locations, the sites were just not working. No telecommunications services provided to the site. So I am requesting that as you attempt now to restore these sites that fell due to the hurricane, there needs to be a broader look at maintenance in relation to all the hundreds of locations that are not working in areas unaffected by the hurricane. There has to be a maintenance provision for Universal Service Fund. And as the person who started that body, I really am urging that the funding be put in place for full maintenance so that our communities can really maximize their benefits. You had mentioned before you got into JPS that Petrojam is due for maintenance, which means that it will be shut down for a while. You didn't say when it will be closed and for how long. And that facility is a most important facility. Now, as was highlighted, you've also mentioned that there was severe damage to the solar plant, Paradise Solar. You've mentioned the restoration of Dr. Bird, JPPC, and West Kingston Power Partners, but you didn't say a word about the regasification facility that was taken offline and presumably now back online, and for which the CEO of JPS had indicated would result in some price increases to the customer because of the use of heavy fuel oil and diesel for generation in that period. So we'd like to hear more on that. But to get to the main issue, and you have dealt with the restoration efforts of the JPSCO, highlighting the large elephant in the room, which was your letter to them advising of the termination of their license from 2027. And Minister, well, you know, the minister, one of the first things I like to ask about is this letter, because I thought I had friends in JPSCO, but not even them will share the letter with me, and perhaps eventually you will share the letter so that we can fully understand what did the letter say. Minister, 5 minutes gone already?
So, Mr. Speaker, we ask that the member's time be extended for 15 minutes to complete his presentation.
The request is on the floor. Those in favor? Those against, the ayes have it. Member, you may continue.
Much obliged, Mr. Speaker, and to my colleagues. Minister, because this is a backdrop, I just want to spend 2 minutes in reminding the country of the position that we have maintained on this side, because there's no magic to 2027, as it was when I was Minister of Telecommunications in 1999. There was no magic to 2038, which was the date for the telecom license to be expired. And that as a minister, fervent on getting justice, fervent on seeing changes, one doesn't have to wait until 2027. Indeed, that JPSCO license was amended in 2008 by a JLP government and by me in 2016. And what we have been saying from 2023, don't wait until time run out to adjust the license. Do it now. In fact, do it when you have leverage. So in my sectoral presentation in 2023, I mentioned certain changes that could have been negotiated then. In 2024, I repeated that. And in 2025, again, I came here and repeated what are some of the important critical changes that we need to effect before we get to July 2025, which was 2 years before July 2027. And so we waited and wasted time. And to date, a letter was sent to JPSCO. And I really want to see the content of that letter, because their interpretation is that the minister threatened them. And as a result of their interpretation, it's all over the place. All over the place. And the minister is also aware that one of the partners is seeking to exit the partnership. So it is very important, especially as we are now providing a loan to the company, a large loan, which we'll get into. The Minister of Finance isn't here, but normally in these matters, you would expect that the Minister of Finance, $150 million US is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And so Minister, there are some questions. Firstly, you've mentioned that today the government is not yet aware of the interest rate. You can't lend money without that very important element being known. So let us know what that interest rate is. But more importantly, you did say that at the end of 2 years, if the company hasn't paid back the loan by then, there's an opportunity for the government to transfer that loan into equity, into shares, and to acquire the assets. What is the value of that asset? Is the value of the asset done at today's date? So at the time when you're taking the risk, is the value going to be when you've added 150 million, enhance the value? At what point have you done that valuation? That I think is fundamental to this Parliament accepting this as a way forward. So that is a most important question. But the minister has mentioned that JPSCO wants $350 million. And presumably, that is the cost for the full restoration that is to happen now in February. But the government is only providing 150. So we are short by $200 million. Yes, and it's United States dollars. You know, before all of this, we were being told by JPS and others that the amount of money for full restoration was between 400 and 500. So we are down to 350. They are getting 150 from the government of Jamaica. And I'm so happy the Minister of Finance is back. Where is the balance to come from? $200 million. And very importantly, what assurance is there, especially because restoration is tied to this 150 million, what assurance is there for the balance 200 million? And again, have commitments been given by the government for this balance to be provided. And by the way, probably when the Minister of Finance speaks, we will know exactly where that 150 million is coming from. Consult fund, borrowed money, and I think the cat bond. Minister, I don't see how we can leave Parliament today and not be told where that 150 million US is coming from. But Minister, earlier, yeah. Earlier, Minister, Minister, I want to suggest a few things. I think you. I am making. I am making the submission mindful of the precarious state of our country and the desire to ensure that we are stronger after all of this. That's and I spoke earlier, Minister, of concession and leverage. We are providing JPSCO with $150 million US. May I suggest that in providing this money, we use it for some leverage. One, JPSCO has a monopoly on transmission and distribution. You know what has happened in this hurricane? There are some persons who lost electricity totally. Totally. No, I need no protection, and I can. And just remind the Minister, I was not the minister who signed the license in 2001.
Member.
I stand by the license. I stand by the license.
Member, you're on the floor.
Yes, thank you, sir.
You have the mic. But if you go into a crosstalk with another member that doesn't, you don't have the floor. Members, you don't have the floor. If you allow me, you will hear. If you allow me, you will hear.
Yes.
I am saying to you, you have the mic. You have the floor. If you're going to a crosstalk with a member who doesn't, then you're on your own. I can protect you.
As of now.
I am saying to you, you have the floor. Continue with the presentation.
So, Mr. Speaker, again for the records, in 2001, when the JPS was divested, I was not the minister. I improved on those terms of the license in 2016, and I'm proud of that. And I'm proud. And as the minister is realizing now, conditions warrant certain action by the government. And in 2001, there was a need for what eventually the administration entered into with that new enterprise. But the concession I'm seeking using the leverage of the 150 million is firstly, and there are a number of concessions I believe the government should insist on. Today, due to a hurricane, if my neighbor has a solar system that is working 2 days after the hurricane, and I am on JPS, damaged and out of power for months, my neighbor can't run a wire across my fence and give me electricity, because that person would be in breach of the license. I'm suggesting, Minister, you get them to waive that requirement so that in periods of emergency, that period in yes. So, Mr. Speaker, we have some leverage now. we're giving them $150 million as loan. Let us get some leverage. Let us get some concession as a result. So I would like to recommend that in relation to emergency situation like we're under, that issue of monopoly and transmission and distribution be waived, and that anybody in Westmoreland or Hanover who can assist a neighbor with electricity now, they should be allowed to do so without the restraint of the license. I'm also suggesting, Mr. Speaker, that as we need to get our economy up and running quickly, and as we're seeing those operators in special economic zone languishing and can't expand because of the high price of electricity, use this opportunity now to get a concession and allow persons who operate in free zones to generate and distribute electricity within the free zones, within the special economic zones.
Bring that forward.
I won't go through the long list. There's just one other issue I want to raise. Because already the JPSCO has given a hint about increased prices. And last year, you and I were warning about that when we thought that the slowness in restoration of the LNG generated electricity caused a major problem because people were paying for electricity generated by heavy fuel oil and diesel. And by the way, the Minister of Finance would be aware that the taxation on heavy fuel oil and diesel is so much greater than the taxation on LNG. And that is a matter that has to be resolved. But I believe that there has to be greater accountability on the part of the JPSCO. I can't see why you weren't able to say in your brief the date and time when LNG was restored. And that is curious because that is important. It's a cheaper generating cost to the JPS, larger because, among other things, the taxation is less. And we have to think for the future because more and more large customers are taking themselves off the grid to go straight to the LNG supplier, paying less taxes than we, those of us who are on the grid, have to pay for fuel sources that are used to generate electricity, such as heavy fuel oil and diesel. The taxation on those two fuels quadruple the taxation on LNG. And more you're going to find customers are going to be migrating to their own generated electricity. And more, those who remain on the grid will be faced with higher and higher prices. So, Mr. Chairman, as I see 1 minute remains, the minister could indicate the critical issues, rate of interest, where the funds are coming from, where the balance will come from, because the Jamaican people do want to have electricity before Christmas. And your timeline of February, which you're sticking your neck to, could very well drift to beyond February. And we don't want that. We want to ensure that the restoration takes place as quickly as possible. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
We have questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, colleague. And I'm going to answer. Eh? Yeah, this is too much, man. If you get another one, I need another page. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, let us separate two things. Let's separate the negotiation that's going to go forward and the questions that were raised, but let's start with where we are now. This is the first opportunity that the Andrew Holness-led administration has had to start from scratch and negotiate a new license, electricity license, on behalf of the people of Jamaica. So don't tell me about 2001 and 2000. This is the first time that this has happened. This administration and this minister had given a commitment to the people of Jamaica that we were going to negotiate a new license. We didn't say who the new license would be with. And at this point, what I have stated here today is that I have separated Melissa and the needs that the JPS needs for Melissa in terms of funding to bring forward the timelines. And I can state here now that the contract with the consultants out of the UK were signed yesterday. They arrive here next week. The negotiating team of the government of Jamaica is ready to go to the table with the JPS next week with the hope of coming to some kind of agreement or to have a disagreement so we know exactly which road we are going down. So to ask me about a valuation when a negotiation is just starting and the license is very explicit on what happens if the government takes the position that they are going to buy out the assets of the existing electricity provider. So that is a premature question that I can't answer because I don't reach here yet, because it might not even be necessary. So that's number one. Number two, the meeting that I had yesterday with the chairman of the JPS, the CEO of the JPS, and the CFO of the JPS, in relation to what we agreed, was unanimous as the best way forward to deal with the current situation and to make sure that we don't delay it and we go on the same path, which is to try and come with an agreement in the shortest possible time with the negotiation teams at the table. Any attempt to rush a negotiation because you are responding to Melissa would be irresponsible, and it would only delay the process of restoration, because that can't happen in a day, a week, a month, or 2 months, or 6 months. 2 years in itself is a stretch. But my commitment on behalf of this government is that we are going to go to the table and we are going to try, and based on the meeting that we had yesterday, and the fact that they know already the fundamental changes that we want, that we will have a path that will either take us to consensus or we move to the next point, which is options. The government is still in control of this negotiation and has the leverage, because we are the one who have to issue the license whenever that time comes. So I want to make Jamaica assured that Melissa has not shifted that when, if it was negotiated differently, it could have easily given the government less leverage based on the circumstances. I want to mention about Petrojam. You asked some questions. I'm prepared to get those answers for you and give you, as we usually communicate, because that is important information. You mentioned Paradise Solar. You said we didn't mention anything about LNG. You would have seen the statement from JPS about what they are doing for the customers of JPS in terms of no disconnections, payment plans, etc., etc. The JPS knows exactly from Beryl where this government stands. The OUR is already on top of their game, and we are going to make sure that before anything happens in relation to any discussion about price increase or rate increase, that a proper discussion is had and it is evaluated, and whatever it is has to be communicated and dealt with. If it becomes that way, you are going a bit further because you reach to that point. Where I reach is to make sure what I announce today happens in the shortest possible time to ease the burden and the suffering of those who don't have not even a tarpaulin over their head. So I give you the assurance that that is on my radar. And if that is inevitable, we will manage it and we'll make sure that we do what we have to do to ease the burden on the customers of the JPS. You asked about interest rate. We got approval yesterday. The Ministry of Finance, I think at this hour, if not this evening, tomorrow morning, will start discussions with JPS. And as I said before, we have to be very careful, because if we are lending the money and the interest rate is not reasonable, and by the way, it's consolidated fund money. It's not borrowed money, it's consolidated fund money. But guess what? If you don't spend $150 million to do this, and you spend it on some house, and fix some school, and some water, and you don't have light, the $150 million don't value nothing. Because light, electricity is the most important thing in a recovery as we speak now. So I take full responsibility with support of my minister. As I said before, you were asked about the shortfall. We have given a commitment for $150 million. They are to come back in relation to their financial model for the balance. The original ask was $300 million. We said we are prepared to do 2 months to get the restoration back. We will evaluate it at that point, depending on where we are. But right now, the most important thing is to move that 4 to 6 months and cut it down to 2 to 3 months. If the Jamaican people know and see the activity on the ground, to know that January 2026 is going to be the last of the suffering because of electricity, they can manage that. But if you tell them May, June next year, they're just going to throw their hand in the air, because 6 months is impossible to sustain. So remember, you and I get on. We can discuss anything you want, whether off air, on air, wherever you want. Just understand one thing. My responsibility on behalf of this government and the Andrew Holness-led administration is to reduce the suffering of the people in the shortest possible time. And this is a game changer to what JPS had proposed originally and was going down the road. And the fact that we can do what we have done without mixing the loan with any extension to the license is making sure that our commitment to the Jamaican people is upheld. So, as I said before, we can talk more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Minister, the context of your presentation in relation to the JPS situation is that the license expires, I think, is it July 2027? Notice has been given, triggering the consequences of license termination. Jamaica has roughly 20% of the equity in JPS. The funding gap, based on the recently done work to do the restoration of the grid, including substations, transmission posts, etc., distribution lines, is around $350 million US. So our 20%, if you're looking at us as a shareholder, our 20% would be 70 million. But we are actually taking the risk of lending an unsecured loan to JPS of 150 million, which is twice the proportion of the equity that we hold in the business. So unsecured, you don't have any collateral to seize. you're relying on a mechanism to get it back, which I'm going to speak to in a second. So my question to you is, first of all, the other 200 million, which is currently not funded, but which is necessary to achieve the timelines that you have indicated for restoration. What is the assurance that that 200 million will be raised on a timely basis so as to enable the necessary expenditures to be made by JPS to hit the targets, which are presumably fairly aggressive targets given the extent of the damage to the grid and so on? What level of confidence do you have that that 200 million will be raised by them? And what is the time frame that it has to be raised by for that target to be met? I'd like to know the time frame for that. Secondly, would we be disbursing our 150 before that 200 million is in place? Are we going to take the risk of lending that money to JPS, funded out of the consolidated fund you've said? I was going to ask you how it's going to be funded. That's roughly the same amount as the cat bond drawdown, we're told. This 150, which Jamaica has been seeing as being critical to the housing, shelter, the school fixing up, the health centers and hospitals, etc. JPS is now going to get the benefit of that money. I want to know whether we're going to take that risk and disburse those funds to JPS until the damage fund is fully funded. As it stands now, all you've told us is you've left it up to them and they're to come back to you. That, I think, is a risk we're not prepared to take as a country. I want to know which GOJ entity is going to carry the loan. So is it DBJ? You know, which entity is going to be the lender of record? Because part of what you've said is a mechanism that assures repayment, you've said, is that if at the end of July 2027, there is no renewal of the license because you can't agree terms, and you're acquiring the assets of JPS, you're saying that 150 would be a set-off, essentially. That's what I read you to be saying, that you would recover the 150, it would go in reduction of what you would have to pay them to acquire the assets. So for set-off requires mutuality, meaning that the person who owes you is the same person you owe. So I want to know which entity within the government is going to carry that loan to the JPS. You said the interest rate is not yet settled, and the Ministry of Finance is going to deal with that hopefully tomorrow. I'm hoping that we will get a report on what that is, because this is coming out of the nation's available liquidity, and when there are a whole lot of needs to be met. So I think it's necessary for us to do what is necessary to get JPS up and running as quickly as possible. But I think we have to do it very prudently and sensibly so that we don't unnecessarily expose taxpayers to loss. So I would like your assurance, Minister, that that 200 million will be coughed up by JPS, perhaps by its two large overseas shareholders, Marubeni and East West Power, Korean government, South Korean government-owned large utility. Or JPS is going to draw down on whatever funding it can raise from its creditors. I don't know how they plan to fund it, but we need to know it's funded before we put our 150 in. That's the last question I have, because I'm asking questions, is in all of this that we're discussing now, to get things back up and running as quickly as possible, which is the main imperative we're all aligned around. We've also had talk over the last year or so since Beryl about building resilience into our distribution and transmission systems for electricity. And there's been talk about putting wiring underground, and that the cost of that is very high. And in fact, the CEO of JPS has said it'd be prohibitive. But what I want to know is what practical steps are being taken to build resilience into the grid now for those sections which have to be rebuilt? And is that a consideration at all? And if it is, what are the things that you intend to do to make sure that the grid is more resilient to withstand weather events, maybe not as drastic as Melissa, but weather events that we know sooner or later, hopefully much later, we're going to have to endure again. So that's my third question. So I'll summarize. One is the timeline for JPS to fund the 200 million gap, and whether you would ensure that that funding is in place before you expose our $150 million. Which GOJ entity is going to carry the loan, the $150 million loan that will be made to JPS? And what, if anything, is being done to build greater resilience into the grid in those areas where the grid is being substantially rebuilt? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Let me indicate very clearly for all of Jamaica to hear. The meeting that we had yesterday morning, where the Minister of Finance and the Financial Secretary was there, we ironed out a way forward, realizing the seriousness and the time-sensitive nature of this response. So the first answer to your question is that this government is prepared on behalf of the people of Jamaica to release the $150 million in whatever tranches are required as quickly as possible to get the restoration going. And that's the difference between a caring government and somebody who has a financial background. The people want light. Okay? So let me just make that clear.
Point of order, Minister.
Point of order.
Minister, point of order.
His feet, talking. The minister is standing on his feet, talking into the mic. You don't need to personalize your response. You don't need to get hot under the collar. It's a legitimate question I'm asking. And I'm just, so don't bother about having a financial background. I want to know, a simple question. Are you going to ensure the funding is in place? And now you're coming back and personalizing it in a totally unnecessary way.
Let me repeat. Let me repeat. The member is saying that his position is that he would not release the $150 million unless he knew where the $200 million was coming from. That's what he said. That's what he said. That's what he said. Hansard is there. Hansard is there. Hansard is there. Hansard is there. And I am
Minister,
telling you,
Minister,
I am telling you.
Minister, please, please. For those members who do not have the floor, please allow the minister to answer the question.
So,
You may continue, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me just say it again. Based on the meeting that took place yesterday, we are confident, based on the meeting that had the representative of the Ministry of Finance at the highest level, the Minister and the Financial Secretary, you can't go any higher, that we are prepared to release the $150 billion tonight, if it means that the people are going to get back light sooner than later. Mr. Speaker, 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 Mr. Speaker,
Members,
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker,
members, all minister. Members.
You are a wicked and a wicked and evil. Bad mind don't go on yet from September 3rd.
Members,
Wicked and evil. Mr. Speaker.
I am-
Mr. Speaker.
Minister, hold. Members,
Me-
members from the opposition side,
You are an uncaring set.
if
You
you
are a
do,
heartless set.
if
You're a
you
wicked
do not
set.
allow the minister to continue, then we will have to go to something else. Please, you do not have the floor. Member from St. Catherine North Central, you do not have the floor.
Mr. Speaker.
You will find out in short.
Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead, Minister.
The $150 million that
Give me a
the
chance.
government is prepared to release as soon as the documentation is in place, which will be no later than a matter of hours to a day, because of the urgency, is specific for restoration over 2 months, December and January. That $150 million is ring-fenced to deal with a restoration program that will take care of Jamaica, not only some parishes. And if you are going to tell me that there are people in this house that would question a government in a crisis like this to hold $150 million that we have availability now, to find out about $200 million, which can take another month or 6 weeks. Our money is secured whichever way it goes. We are a responsible government, and we have taken a responsible decision, a caring decision, an argument done. Some of you are asking the question, how will you better start with it? So, Mr. Speaker, the position is, this matter is fluid. This is a cabinet decision that was taken yesterday. We are going to wait until we have the final agreement between the Ministry of Finance and the JPS. And whenever that happens, we will make it public in Parliament to show the people of Jamaica what the final terms and conditions are. But for somebody to stand up in Parliament, knowing what is taking place out there, and is prepared to take a position to delay restoration, they will be judged by the people of this country. Yes, here.
Minister, I want you to remain focused and answer the questions that are posed to you, please. Member from St. Andrews South Eastern, you have the floor.
Minister, the JPS has said that they estimate that the damage is $350 million. You are providing $150 million. Are you comfortable that the $150 million that the government is going to loan can provide the full restoration for all the parishes in the time frame that you have indicated? Right? By end of, hold on. Right? My second question, and I will ask you to ask your colleague who is sitting beside you. When will the Parliament get a statement from the Minister of Finance which outlines all the monies that we have gotten from the insurances, the monies that we are negotiating with our multilateral agencies, IMF, World Bank, IDB? We know that we have an estimate of US $8 billion. It is anticipated we can probably raise $1 billion US. Where is that shortfall going to come from? What are those funds going to be used for? We are 4 weeks after the hurricane, and the Minister of Finance is yet to come to the Parliament and tell us how much money we have, how the funds are going to be used. And every other minister can speak, can say many things, but if the Ministry of Finance cannot speak, right? So my question, Minister, do you believe 150 can cover the full restoration in the time?
Just make him answer the question. Make him answer.
One question.
Turn it on.
Yes.
Minister, Minister, I'm going to ask you, are you willing to have all questions posed at once and then you answer, or are you going to take them one at a time? No, you have to tell me no because I'm going to rule. One at a time. Are you going to answer the member from St. Andrew Eastern, sorry?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I only have to answer one question out of two, and that's a question that relates to the JPS negotiation. And he asked me whether I'm confident that the 150 can do what it is said to do in the 2 months, and the answer is yes. Secondly, he asked about whether or not I'm confident of the additional money, and I will make a statement here to say we will work with JPS in whichever way, shape, or form that is required, if it means that we are to benefit the people of Jamaica in the shortest possible time. All options are open for discussion. All options. But we are not going to wait to get a fulsome, complete in a time of crisis. 150 is what we need for 2 months to get January morning, February morning, restoration as against May, June. If anybody can question that in Jamaica today with what we are going through, then they are wicked people.
Member from Clarendon Southwestern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is the minister aware that one of the major partners of the current JPS setup has indicated that they want to withdraw from the JPS agreement, the current agreement that they have, right? One of the international partners. And having regard to that fact, is the minister still prepared to go ahead with this loan of 150 million US, having regard to the fact that one of the partners of JPS has indicated that they want to withdraw from the agreement? It's an important question.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, it is a matter, Babsy. Mr. Speaker, it is a matter of public international knowledge that Maribweni, who owns 40%, indicated months ago that they are 40%.
Obviously, they are not listening, Minister. Give them some time. Go ahead now.
It's a matter of public record, international record, that Maribweni took a decision to divest their 40% in JPS. They came and saw the government of Jamaica and expressed that. This also, when the letter of the government in terms of the position that we took with the license, they came back to us to indicate that based on that, nobody will be prepared to buy 40% of a company that have 2 years on a license. So we are on the same path in relation to going down the road to get a negotiated license one way or the other so that they can then do what they need to do. But as of right now, they are in it for the next 2 years because they don't have any ability to sell. So that has no inference or no nothing to do with what we are planning to do now. So answer to his question, yes, long time.